Everyone, happy to see you all again. Checking in for our Tuesday session, or really whatever day you're getting to this video, but I just want to say hello. Hope everyone's still healthy, staying positive, enjoying their day so far, taking in the sunshine. I'm excited to introduce our new directive today. We are going to be focusing on feelings. Oh, we love feelings. They're with us all the time. They're our own. We hold them. However, sometimes it feels like, they can get out of control. They come out of nowhere. And that's how a lot of things can be. It's a give and take about what we can control, what we can manage, and things we can't. And the things we can't can be often scary and overwhelming. And I think it's important to recognize that and understand that happens to everyone. And there are ways we can work with those and take those in and regain control and restabilize ourselves when things feel a little crazy, a little out of the blue. So that's what we're gonna be working on today. I'm really excited. We are going to be doing little cards like this. I don't know if you can see this. I'll get this really close. Here, I'll just cover my face. But we're gonna be making little feeling cards like this. This is actually one that my friend had made me, and I'm gonna be making them with all of you guys today. And we're gonna be working with watercolor if you have it, markers if you have it. Sometimes markers can be turned into watercolors if you just add a little water on top. I personally will be using watercolor, and so we're gonna experiment with what I was talking about earlier, what we can control and what we can just let flow, let kind of diffuse, and look at that interaction and see how we can take that in and use it to symbolize different ways we're feeling and different ways we're seeing the world and all that good stuff. So that's our little introduction for today, and hopefully as we keep going, it becomes maybe a little more clear and we can work on it together and have a lovely time. Okay, so I'm gonna get the materials we need for this. Again, I'll be using watercolor and some sturdier paper. A lot of paper works. There's different variations that you can use of this, so hopefully we can find something for you guys working from home, see what you have in your art supplies, and go from there. Okay guys, so I'm back and I've gotten the materials I'm gonna use for the first part of this project. I have my watercolors out here, water, paper towel just for dabbing, in case I wanna switch up some colors, and we're gonna go from here. Okay, so I personally like to work a bit smaller, especially when using little cards like this that are just sort of free form and fun, and I can make more than one. So I sort of started with this size. You can really pick any size you like. I didn't measure it, just whichever one felt comfortable to me, and I'm just going to use it as a template and cut a few more squares. So I'm gonna do this quick and easy. I'll probably move these big sheets of paper or bigger sheets down here out of the way for later use. Boom, there we go. So we have some pre-cut pieces of paper. Those are gonna work beautifully for a project that we're gonna do today. I did just realize though that being that they're so small, I should put something down to protect my table. If you are working at home, I would suggest doing the same, maybe an old newspaper, a paper bag. If you're working with paint, you just don't want to get that on anything at home, and be respectful of shared spaces. So we're gonna start out. I have my square, and the first step of this project is really easy. It can be used as a mindfulness activity. I'm just gonna dip my brush in plain water over here, and I'm going to just put a thin layer over my first sheet. So if you've never used watercolors before, they are very fluid, hence the water, and they have a tendency to spread when put on a wet surface, and just also when using them. Water, we know, moves wherever it so chooses, and that can be something that's exceedingly fun and freeing, and also on the other end, it can be something that can be a little stressful, and it's so interesting to see how both those things interact with each other, something that we can control and recognizing if we're okay with that or not, something we can't control, and essentially doing the same thing, figuring out, how do I feel about this? Am I okay if my colors spread? Am I okay if things don't stay in the lines? How does it make me feel if something doesn't go as planned? And those feelings are never bad feelings. They're great feelings. It means we're checking in with ourselves. We are taking an assessment of how we are doing in the moment. And that is great for our mental health. It is great for our communication. It is great for a whole bunch of things. Understanding ourselves and how we react in different circumstances, we become better prepared. So for this first one, I'm just kind of experimenting, with water and color and how these are all going. I don't know if you can see, oh yes, perfect. That these I just sort of dabbed on the paper and with no rhyme or reason, letting them just flow where they go, see what happens. I might drain some of my water off there. And I'm not really in control of how this is going, but I'm checking in with my body and I'm realizing I'm okay with that. This is a controlled environment. It is something that I started doing on my own accord, and I'm realizing that while I may not have the same control as I would with a pencil or a pen or markers, I do have control about how I feel about this situation. And I'm using these colors that I'm familiar with, that maybe spark a certain emotion in me. I'm using a lot of reds and yellows. There are a lot of bright, warm colors. And colors like that make me exceedingly happy. They bring me joy. So I'm just gonna keep going with this and saturate this with color. And as you can see, my paper is kind of bending a little bit. That's okay, it's what happens to paper when it gets quite damp. A little more of this over here. So that's one that I just finished. And I'm just gonna set it probably over here on my paper towel to dry for right now. And I'm gonna do another one. Okay, so we kind of get the idea of the first part of this project. It can be a really soothing, calming activity. You don't have to think too hard about it. You practice just letting go and seeing where the paint takes you, seeing what comes out. And go from there. You can attribute some of these colors to different emotions you may feel if you want to make them an emotion card. Emotion cards are something I've done in the past where I make different cards like this representing different emotions I'm feeling. And I use them to communicate to people I'm working with, to myself, kind of see if they align with what I'm feeling. So for example, if I was going to do this card, and this is just me personally, I'm using a lot of blues. And blues can be really calming for some people. Sometimes maybe somber. Somber is another way to say maybe sad. I'm just going to keep adding some blues in there. Maybe some greens. This could also just be a calmer energy. It doesn't have to be sad or somber like that word I just used before. Or anything like that, it can be calm and peaceful, as opposed to the red and orange one I just made, which could be loud and exciting. Sometimes our energies change, and that can affect how we're feeling and how we interact with people around us. And at the same time, our energies can be affected by the environment, what we're experiencing in ourselves and in our bodies at the same time, what we're experiencing in the environment. And sometimes we don't have any control over the environment we're in. So we have to focus on what we can control and what we can manage in our bodies at that time. And not let what we can't control overwhelm us to a state of sadness or anger or fear, which can be really hard to do sometimes. So this could be a good activity for that when you are trying to focus on what you can and cannot manage at once. Do some quiet mindfulness painting and watch things interact in a way that you may not have foreseen them interacting. So this is now my blue card. When I put them both together, like that, they look very different from each other. And that's a lovely thing. Differences are amazing. This card is definitely, to me, more peaceful. It's quiet. It could look like the ocean. It could remind me of rain. Maybe a cloudier day. Just could be soothing. And this one is brighter and louder with different colors, and it could be excitement, it could be passion, it could be surprise. It could just be stronger. It could represent a stronger emotion that comes all at once, whether that's happy, sad, angry, scared, unsure. And this one could be a quieter, slower flow of emotion that just kind of comes and goes slowly. It doesn't overtake us, but it's there and we feel it. So those are the two I have for now, and I'm going to do one more. Feel free to do as many as you would like. And I don't mind too much about the back of these, so I'm just putting them on the little puddles I've created. Again, just working with the space that I have. And being okay with what happens, even if I'm not quite sure what that is yet. So this one, let's do this one, a mixture of the two. Sometimes things combine, sometimes we don't know what we're feeling, what we're thinking, we're not sure. Sometimes it's everything at once, so it's good to have two interact. I've got my bright colors over there, maybe some blues over here. And those colors kind of mixed, and they may have gotten a little murky. That's okay, and then I'm just gonna pour down like that. I might just add a little bit more water over here. Maybe I'll experiment with some of this lighter color, maybe some green like I saw in my last one. Put it up here near the top and let it just flow down. Try and get off some of that extra water. Maybe turn it around the other way, shake it a little bit, get some movement in there, have some things blend. You can play with it, you can get creative. See what you can come up with. Okay, and that will be my last one. So we've done the first part of our art activity for today. And I'm going to clean up this little bit here because the next part is going to be focused on what we can control and what we choose to do directly using our imagination, using our body. We're going to be using a lot more stable material, and we are going to combine it with what we've created here. So again, it's taking both those sides, uncontrollable and controllable, and putting them together and seeing how they interact with each other and taking what we can control in that moment. It may not be everything. It may not be, where you're at, what you're doing, who you're with, but it's focusing on what you can hold on to and what you can handle in that moment, and using it to cope with what you can't control at the same time. So we're looking at both those sides of give and take, both those sides of controllable, uncontrollable, manageable in the moment, everything else that we may not be in charge of. So yeah, that's going to be exciting moving forward. So if you've done this first part, set them aside somewhere safe to dry. Paper towel, they generally dry very quickly, so you have time to maybe clean up the first part of our project. I'm going to fold this up so I don't get it anywhere. Even this is kind of its own fun artwork, so I actually might let this dry somewhere and use it for something else, which is a fun idea if you use paper as a safety net for your painting as well. I love recycling art materials. I love seeing what I can make out of mistakes, what I can make out of something I didn't even know I was creating. So we'll see where this takes us. So I'm back. I cleaned up the stuff I'm not using anymore. I've been gone for maybe about 5-7 minutes, and the first one that I made is already dry, so it doesn't take very long for them to dry, which is nice. And we can get right into our second activity. So I went and gathered some of the pens I have in my house. I chose to just use black, but take whatever color you like. I wanted something darker that would stand out against the bright colors I used. And again, this part is going to be more about control and stability and grounding. And yeah, we're gonna go from there. So I have like different widths of brushes. I have a brush like this, it's kind of like a marker's tip, and this one, which is even smaller. So we're gonna see what I can do with this, but essentially we're gonna use this now as a background, the back of our card. Maybe think of it as the environment that we are in, or someone else is in, or your surroundings, or an experience that you had no control over, such as what's going on right now, being stuck inside, maybe unsure of how it's going to plan out. That's what this back of the card could represent, this first one. And we are going to go over it. I'm going to use this pen first, and we're going to essentially just do some mindfulness drawing. So I'm going to choose to do a mandala on this first one. And if you don't know what a mandala is, I can explain it to you right now. But essentially a mandala is sort of like the center, and it expands outward, and it means a lot of things for a lot of different people, but it's something that is holding space to be stable, be calm. It can be relaxing to make one. They're really beautiful, and you can create them on your own with pouring yourself into them, and they can become an activity to start your day with, to ground yourself, to feel stability, to prepare for the coming day. And you can really take them however you would like. They are holding space. They can provide closure. I'm going to start one just right in the middle of this. And I'm going to start it with just a swirl, just a simple swirl like that. And from here, I'm going to expand outward and create a space for myself. And maybe I start to do little half circles around my mandala, or that will become my mandala, excuse me. And from there, I might add some dots. Go all the way around. And here I might think and take my time and see, what else do I want to add? You make this however you so choose. I might do some triangles to go around my dots so they're not just floating out there by themselves. And I have little houses over them. And I'm just going to keep going with this activity. I'm going to add some more swirls in here. And you can play some soft music in the background. You can do this outside. If you have a porch or a front yard, a backyard, you don't need a lot of space. You can just listen to birds, you can listen to people. If there are any walking around, you can listen to the cars. You can do it in silence. You can do it by yourself. Just take a minute and breathe and gather your thoughts. Don't think too hard about what you're doing or what you're drawing. You're the one holding the pen. You are in control of this situation. You're just using line, shapes, and colors. To create something whole and beautiful and yours. This is what mine looks like so far. I did little half moons. I'm just doing things that I like to draw, that I know how to draw, or maybe I've drawn in the past. I'm doing simple shapes. I'm doing circles and triangles and what feels good to me in the moment. And I'm taking a step back and I'm looking at it as a whole, and I'm seeing it fill up this environment, fill up this space. And while it's filling up this space, the colors that I'd put in the background that I maybe didn't know how they were going to interact with each other, or didn't know where they were going to go. Maybe they spread too far. Maybe the pink mixed with the orange and made a color that I didn't like. I'm seeing it fill in the spaces of what I'm drawing on top of it and create something completely different together. Both opposites that are now making something new, that are merging and becoming one. And something that I can be at peace with. I'm controlling what I can control, maybe in an environment that started out as unmanageable. So I'm gonna keep going. Just do some big loops. I like everything to have its own space, everything to have some containment where it can feel safe. So I've noticed that myself, I keep enclosing all my freestanding dots down here. They got triangles. The moons have now loops around them. I don't want anything to feel like it's floating out in space by itself. It's supported, it's part of the whole, which could be a metaphor for how we cope during these times. We can check in on people, we can make sure no one feels like they're floating out by themselves, that they're all connected as a whole in their community. So I might do one more round of big swirls to finish this off, because I like where it's headed and I think it's really close to being done. And I can stop whenever I so choose. I get to decide when it's finished, when it feels right to me. Okay, and now you have a whole new art piece. Your first feelings card, mandala card. We took two different activities with two different objectives and combined them into one. We are left with this. It can encompass a feeling. It can be a holding space for maybe something you're uncomfortable with. You can make them to process what you're going through. You can make them for someone else, honestly. If you see someone who's maybe stressed, showing some anxiety, maybe down or sad or not themselves. If you yourself are feeling any of those, make one for yourself. Remember, we take care of others, but we also have to remember to take care of ourselves. And this is another one we can start, and you can do as many as you'd like. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one, and it might be different than this one. Maybe I start the center with a word. I could start with a power word. A power word is something, well, it's a word that we hold dear to ourselves. Maybe it means a lot to us. Maybe it gives us strength when we're not feeling strong. It can remind us of how we are as a full human being with thoughts and feelings and the ability to care. It can be something that grounds us. So I'm going to think of a power word to put in the middle of this, because to me, this card represents power. It looks powerful. It has all the colors. If you remember, it was taking maybe the bright, bold colors, something passionate, a rush of emotion, mixing them with the calm, soothing colors, and creating something, again, out of two opposing forces that have managed to come together on this card as one and create something whole. So to me, this is a powerful card, and I think I'm going to put on it I'm going to put on this positivity. That's a long one, so I'm going to spell it Positivity. And even adults have to check and see if they spelled words right, which is what I'm going to do right now. This is a good lesson for everyone, that you can never be too sure. Mistakes happen, and I want to double check and make sure that I spelled that right for all of you. Positivity. Positivity. And I did. So back to what we were doing. Please excuse the interruption. But like I said, you always have to check. You have to make sure there is no shame in double checking your work. So I wrote positivity on here. To me, that's something that reminds me of myself, of my own power, of my own strength. I try and find the positivity in every situation, the light at the end of the tunnel. It helps me get through the darker days, the unsure days, the days where I'm maybe just feeling a bit down. Maybe it's raining outside. Maybe the sun hasn't come out today. And I like to think on the positive end of things and see what can I make good about this day. And that can be really hard to do. So if I write it on my card, and maybe I'm struggling with that when I wake up in the morning, and I look over and I see it just sitting there in my face and like, you can do this. This is your power word. This is your strength. And I can make this the center of a new mandala if I want to. A mandala does not have to be circular. It can encompass your word, and by encompass I mean it can surround, it can hold, it can be a space for whatever you wrote. I'd love if you all thought of your own power word to put on one of your cards. I know you all have so many strengths and so many powers. It's so important to recognize those within ourselves and see what we bring to the world and remind ourselves of our own power. Just an extra one there for fun. I'm gonna do little rainbow half loops in here. Pen, there we go. And I might work from the outside and do the corners of my card if I would like. Again, this is totally up to you. This is your art activity. You are in control of this space. Make it your own. And I'm not thinking too hard about it. I'm focusing more on the action and what's soothing me, what's grounding me in the moment. And here we have our second card. Now we have two. So we've done two of them. I have my last one, and I'm going to think a little bit more on it about what I want to put on this card. And you can again make yours however you'd like to. This first one just has some lines running through it. It doesn't have to be anything too exciting. It can ignite a feeling. It can remind you of a feeling. It can be whatever you'd like. So, with that, I am going to sign off for now. I hope you guys enjoyed making your cards and enjoy making them in the future. As always, I wish I could see your work in person. I know it's lovely. I've seen it before. If you feel so inclined, please share it. Take photos, send it to the Project Create page. And yeah, take your time with this. Sit down, relax, focus on yourself, yourself in the moment. Maybe put both feet on the ground, take a deep breath before you start. Think about your environment, what you can control, what you can't control. Okay, so here I am signing off. Again, I've loved being here with all of you. Please stay healthy, please stay well, please stay positive. Reach out if you have any questions or concerns or ideas. We love to hear from you, and we are with you in spirit and in artwork. Okay, have a great day. See you all later.